there's more misconnections between Nicole and Conrad, and Jeremiah starts his little plot and tells Nicole that Conrad loves Frank Ocean. Zero chance that he loves nothing wrong with Frank Ocean, but there's zero chance that Conrad loves Frank Ocean and wants to go to the Yarmouth Music Festival with Nicole. But he's like planting his little plot. And then I think a really important scene does happen on the boat between Cleveland and Conrad, because Cleveland picks up on the fact that Conrad is happy and asks him about it. And Conrad admits that it's about somebody else. And then we hear him for the first time talk about his feelings for Belly. He's still like couching what they are. He says, I always thought of her as a little kid, but now she's not. And he doesn't know, like he gets asked, would you like her? And he immediately says no. And then he sort of backs off because like obviously he does. Just he has so much other stuff going on. If they started something, he's worried he would mess it up, which is of course the thesis of this season. And then Cleveland says something that I think like he didn't intend to have this much of an impact, but he says that he learned from years of overpriced therapy that you can't be good with someone unless you're good with yourself, thus putting Conrad up in his head, which only gets amplified when he comes home and he sees the aftermath of the moms and their high snackathon that happened. He flashes back to having to cover his mom with a sweater, the blanket on the couch, and he sees the portrait of Jeremiah, which is all screwed up, and he slaps it over, and then like right afterwards, Belly comes out all happy and like, hey,
I
and
think Conrad really misreads this situation.
yeah, well, I don't know if you think he misreads the situation with the moms?
I think if he had been there
Yeah.
and seen, how silly they were, even though he knows what's going on with his mom, I think if he'd been there and seen how silly they were, it would have hit a lot different. He walks
Interesting.
in and I think he reads it as like, oh, she is not well. Like, what is happening,
Right, and that does get reinforced at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But, in this conversation, they have a conversation about the state of their relationship, which does not go the way really I think either
No.
one of them wanted. And then I think Conrad's worst fears are realized because after his mom comes back from the bar where she is behaving kind of insanely, honestly. Like, I mean, she's behaving like someone who's dying, I think. It's just acting out and trying to recapture her youth and making out with a stranger in a bar. He finds her on the stairs, and he helps her up and he's like, okay, let's not fall tonight. And like, he's really very caring and loving with his mom here. And then Belly goes for a night swim. And I think Belly thinks that Conrad's going to be there. She does her submerge thing. This is a thing that happens many times in the show. She swims at night. She submerges underwater. 50% of the time when she comes up, Conrad is there. And 50% of the time, he's not.